Hey man, here's the brutal truth that will set you free. No matter how sweet she is, no matter how much she says you're enough, and no matter how long you've been together, hypergamy doesn't sleep. It's not something she chooses, it's something she feels. Deep in her evolutionary psychology, she is wired to desire the best possible option available to her at any given moment. It doesn't mean she's evil, it means she's human. Female hypergamy is nature's way of selecting for strength, stability, and survival. But here's the twist. It's not just about money, it's about emotional positioning. It's about how a woman perceives your dominance over your environment, your energy, your confidence, your command of your world. You can have millions in the bank and still be unattractive if your energy feels weak. Because hypergamy isn't logical, it's instinctive. So how do you satisfy hypergamy permanently? You don't by staying the same man she first chose. That's the trap most men fall into. They get the girl, relax, and think the job is done. But the work just began. You can't win hypergamy with a single accomplishment. You win by evolving faster than her desire can outgrow you. Every man who's been blindsided by a woman suddenly losing interest will relate to this. Things were great until they weren't. You didn't cheat, you didn't abuse, you didn't neglect. You just stood still. And in the female mind, that equals decline. If you're not climbing, you're falling. Women feel attraction to growth, not comfort. And the second she senses you've plateaued, she starts imagining who else might be climbing higher than you. Now I'm not talking about becoming a slave to her emotional roller coaster. No, you don't evolve for her, you evolve for yourself. That's the first pillar. You want to permanently satisfy hypergamy? Detach your growth from her approval. Become obsessed with mastery. Build your body, build your bank, build your discipline, build your worldview, and do it like no one's watching. Because when a man grows in silence, his presence starts to speak volumes, and a woman feels that. She may not understand it consciously, but deep in her biology, she senses it. This man is becoming more, and that sensation, that rising tide of masculine progress, is like pheromones to her primal brain. She won't say it, but she'll feel herself drawn closer, because she knows that even if the world falls apart, you're building something that can't be broken. But growth alone isn't enough. Here's the second piece. Mystery. Most men reveal themselves too fast. They pour their hearts out, show all their cards, text too often, explain too much. And then they wonder why she seems less curious, less invested. Let me break it down. A woman's desire thrives in uncertainty. She doesn't want to know everything about you. She wants to imagine. She wants to wonder. She wants to feel like she's earning pieces of your soul over time. Not because you're withholding, but because your world is too deep to reveal in a day. The more she learns, the more she should realize there's more to learn. That's how you hook her hypergamous instinct, by making her feel she's attached to a man who is always expanding, always deepening, always rising beyond her reach, yet still choosing her. The third secret to satisfying hypergamy forever? Frame control. If she feels like she's emotionally leading the relationship, deciding when to talk, when to fight, when to get close, when to pull away, you've already lost. You might think letting her call the shots makes you emotionally available. It doesn't. It makes you emotionally submissive. Women don't fantasize about leading men. They fantasize about surrendering to a man whose presence is so grounded, so calm, so non-reactive that her storm can't move him. Be that man. When she tests you with drama, respond with depth. When she pulls away, don't chase, observe. When she tries to bait you into proving yourself, smile and hold your silence. That's how you feed her hypergamy. What it truly wants, a man she can't shake and can't replace. Women don't wake up thinking, how can I betray this good man? It doesn't start that way. What happens is even more dangerous. It creeps in slowly. The moment she stops feeling that magnetic pull, that rising admiration, that sense of emotional chase, she starts looking elsewhere for it. Not even consciously, but her attention drifts. She becomes less affectionate, her compliments fade, and you sit there confused, thinking, but I've done everything right. That's the problem. You've done everything predictably. You've become stable in a way that feels like stillness, not strength, and her nature is calling for motion, for hunger. For the thrill of knowing her man is outgrowing the world she lives in. When she doesn't feel that, she starts looking for a man who triggers it. This is the part that hurts. Women are attracted to men. they can look up to, not across. Equality in character, yes. Equality in value, yes. But in terms of energy, power, direction, they want to look up. It's not about controlling her, it's about being so focused on your path that she's inspired to follow, and you'll know when she feels that difference. Her tone changes, she softens around you, she lets go of the control because she senses your direction is stronger than her chaos. But the second you stop leading, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, she will fill that void. And when she does, resentment builds. Because now she's forced to do what she secretly doesn't want to carry the masculine role. That's when relationships break. Not because of abuse or neglect, but because you stopped being the man she could emotionally follow. To satisfy hypergamy, you must think long-term dominance. And no, that doesn't mean being a tyrant. It means your presence must dominate her emotions in the most grounded way possible. It means that when she looks at you, she feels the power of a man who doesn't need her, but who chooses her. A man who would be fine alone, but who brings her into his world as a gift, not a crutch. It's in how you walk into a room. It's in how you carry stress. It's in how you respond to pressure. It's in the fact that you don't talk much, but everything you say cuts deep. That kind of man satisfies hypergamy because he awakens both safety and mystery. He is her emotional paradox, stable enough to trust, wild enough to desire. Now here's a secret. No one tells you, hypergamy is never satisfied by submission. The more you give up your time, your standards, your dreams, to make it work, the more she feels like she's winning a man she doesn't want. She might say thank you, she might call it sweet, but inside she's drying up. Because every inch you bend without spine communicates to her that you value her more than yourself. That's not love to her, that's weakness. She might not say it, she might not even know how to explain it, but you'll see it. She'll stop looking at you the same. She'll stop initiating touch. She'll pull away emotionally, and all the affection you used to feel, gone. You're not her protector anymore, you're her pet. And that is when you lose her respect forever. To fully satisfy hypergamy, you must transcend the game. You must reach a level of self-possession so intense that you don't even notice if she's testing you, because you're too busy building something bigger than her emotions. Your mission becomes your magnet, your purpose becomes your seduction, your silence becomes your loudest message. You become a man who doesn't just win a woman's body, you win her soul, because you move through the world like a man who already has everything. And when you live like that, you no longer fear losing her. You know that no matter where she goes, she will never forget how you made her feel. Not with words, not with gifts, not with games, but with your unchangeable energy. That is the only way hypergamy stays loyal, when it knows it will never outgrow you. Understand this, women feel energy. They may not understand the technicality of your goals or the layers of your ambition, but they know when they're in the presence of a man who isn't slowing down for anyone. That's what sets off their emotional wildfire. They feel safe when you're grounded, but they feel obsessed when your life moves faster than their emotional waves. She'll never say, I want a man who's always 3 steps ahead of me, but she'll test and poke and pull and retreat until she finds one who doesn't flinch. Most men lose her at this point because they think those moments require more affection. No, brother, they require more purpose. That's the signal to dive deeper into your vision, not into her mood swings. You cannot negotiate with hypergamy. You can't out-logic it, debate it, or emotionally beg it into staying. You can't say, but I've always been here for you, and expect that to count if your presence doesn't challenge her senses anymore. Hypergamy doesn't care about your past loyalty. It's always scanning for your future capability. That's why even a man who's been there through everything can get left for someone newer, who radiates stronger energy, because it's not about what you've done, it's about what you're becoming. Women are tuned into the emotional signal of a man who grows in real time. You can't fake this, it has to be real. Your growth must be internal, self-initiated, and not driven by her validation. That's when she locks in, because she feels you becoming more than the world around her. Here's another secret most men miss. Your attention is your currency, and if you spend it too freely, she stops valuing it. Hypergamy is satisfied by scarcity, not saturation. That doesn't mean you ignore her. It means that every drop of your focus must feel earned. If she knows you're going to be available 24/7s, reply instantly, cancel your plans, explain your every move. She'll take it all for granted, not because she's cruel, but because her nature is wired to interpret easily gained attention as low value. You want to keep her interest on fire? Guard your focus like a king. Give her glimpses of your soul, not full access. Let her wonder what you're building, how you think, where your energy is going. That's how you keep her curiosity alive and hypergamy hungry. There's a moment in every high-value man's life where he realizes you can't make her stay. You can only make yourself unforgettable. And that happens when you live in a way that doesn't depend on her presence to feel fulfilled. It happens when your day is already rich, your spirit already full, your life already complete, with or without her. That's when you become rare. That's when she starts chasing you. And not in desperation, but in admiration, because most men are secretly craving her validation. But the rare ones, those who move with purpose, confidence, and emotional calm, make her crave the man he is becoming. That's the power. That's the cheat code. That's the only way you satisfy hypergamy, by being the man no woman can fully own, yet every woman wants to be claimed by. Finally, let's talk about emotional neutrality, the ability to stay centered, unfazed, and composed in the face of feminine chaos is the most intoxicating trait a man can possess. When she throws you her storms, tears, silence, confusion, and you don't absorb them, but hold space with grace, that's when you activate the deepest level of trust and obsession, not because you're cold, but because you're unshakable. That energy tells her subconscious, this man can handle anything, including me at my worst, and that more than money, or looks, or words, is what hypergamy responds to. She wants to feel that, no matter how wild her emotions get, you'll still be there, not as her emotional twin, but as her masculine anchor. That's what makes her see you, not just as a lover, but as a leader. Hypergamy isn't just about resources or status, it's about emotional positioning. A woman doesn't simply want a man who has more. She wants a man who is more composed, more mysterious, more intentional, and most importantly, more centered than her. That's what truly satisfies hypergamy, when she senses you are spiritually untouchable. That even if the world around you burns, your soul remains still, because the modern woman is caught in a whirlwind of endless distractions, emotions, and confusion. And the man who refuses to be swept into that chaos, the man who instead organizes his own life, becomes the rare equilibrium she can't find anywhere else. She'll deny it, resist it, test it, but she'll always return to it, because nothing is more rare than a man who cannot be emotionally moved unless he decides to be. Most men try to please hypergamy through words, promises, reassurances, constant communication, but women fall for energy, not explanations. The man who walks into a room and says nothing, yet commands attention, will always pull stronger attraction than the man who tries to convince her with 1,000 compliments. Why? Because her body and soul respond to what her mind can't rationalize, a man whose confidence is unprovoked. That's the secret. You don't try to prove your value, you embody it, and when you do, she notices. Every part of her senses, you're the exception, and that's when hypergamy starts working in your favor. She starts testing herself to become worthy of you, because your emotional control is more rare than any material flex on earth. Let's make this clear. The more a woman invests in you emotionally, the more she values you. And the more you invest emotionally without boundaries, the less she respects you. It's an inverse law. Women are wired to value what they work for, not because they're evil or manipulative, but because effort deepens desire. If you give her all your time, attention, affection up front, without requiring any growth, respect, or consistency from her, then you rob her of the experience of earning you. And that's what kills desire. To satisfy hypergamy, you must always position yourself as a prize she continuously wins. That doesn't mean being a jerk. It means never letting her forget your value wasn't a gift, it was a reward she chased. And the moment she stops chasing, she starts forgetting, and so must you. Many men confuse being masculine with being aggressive, cold, or distant. But the most attractive masculinity is calm certainty. The man who moves without rush. The man who speaks when it's needed, not to fill silence. The man who doesn't demand attention, but receives it effortlessly. because true masculine energy doesn't chase, it draws in. And women feel that more than anything. It's in your stillness, your unbothered nature, your slow breathing when she's spiraling, your refusal to argue because your peace is too valuable. That's what awakens obsession, because in a world of loud boys and emotional messes, you are the quiet mountain she didn't know she was looking for. You don't compete, you don't plead, you just are. And that being makes her feel a longing no other man ever triggered. Lastly, understand this eternal truth. Women don't want to be the center of your life. They want to revolve around a man who has a life. When you center your world around her, she feels the pressure of being your purpose, and that pressure repels her. But when your life is full, when your goals are clear, when your mornings start without needing her attention, she feels drawn in. She wants to become part of your story, not the whole story. Hypergamy is loyal only to men who lead themselves without needing a woman to feel complete. So stop trying to win her over. Win yourself over. Become the kind of man that even she knows walking away from would be the dumbest mistake of her life. That's the only way to satisfy hypergamy, by never trying to satisfy it, just outgrowing everything it tries to test. When you stop needing her to validate your worth, you start radiating something women can't explain: emotional independence. And that trait, it doesn't just satisfy hypergamy, it hypnotizes it. Because a woman wants to feel chosen by a man who didn't need to choose her. That paradox is what keeps her loyal. She doesn't want to be your oxygen, she wants to be your flame, and flames only attach to men who are already burning. If she feels like she's your only source of happiness, she will subconsciously start sabotaging the very connection she once craved. But if she feels like she must rise to the level of your fire, she will begin to transform for you, not out of obligation, but out of deep, undeniable attraction. Your silence is power, your absence is pressure, your consistency in your own lane is irresistible. And yet, most men throw it all away the second she shows interest. They over-communicate, over-explain, overcompensate. But women don't want over, they want depth. Depth is mysterious. It doesn't try to please, it doesn't seek comfort. It remains still and confident, forcing her to look inward and wonder, what is it about this man that makes me feel so drawn, yet so off balance? That's where obsession lives, in the unknowing, the emotional suspense, the silence that says, you still haven't figured me out. And when you live in that space, she doesn't just want you, she needs you. Not because you chased, but because you held back at the exact moment every other man would have spilled himself dry. Hypergamy doesn't love comfort, it respects growth. That's why the men who keep evolving are the men women can't get over. And the truth is, most women don't even know what they want until a man shows up who makes them feel things they've never felt before. It's not logic, it's emotional novelty. When you become that emotional event in her life, a man who remains composed, powerful, curious, and hard to pin down, she will orbit your presence like it's gravity. And no matter how far she strays, she will always remember you as the man who made her feel both safe and shaken. That combination is a drug to the feminine heart. And when you learn to embody it without faking it, you stop chasing relationships and start attracting lifelong obsession. A man who satisfies hypergamy permanently is not the man who gives a woman everything. He's the man who gives her something to rise into, the man who invites her to grow, to evolve, to contribute to a vision that was already moving long before she arrived. And in doing so, he frees himself from the prison of trying to make her happy, because he knows happiness is fleeting, but respect is lasting. And respect comes from being the man who doesn't fall apart just because she's having a bad day or a bad month. It comes from staying grounded when she throws emotional storms at you, and calmly saying with your energy, I've seen worse. I don't need you to be perfect. I just need you to know, I will not lose myself in the process of loving you. In the end, satisfying hypergamy is not a tactic. It's not manipulation. It's not a game. It's a lifestyle. It's becoming the kind of man who lives from abundance, not scarcity, from purpose, not performance, from masculine truth, not emotional reaction. It's the kind of man who doesn't flinch when she tests him, doesn't chase when she pulls away, doesn't beg when she's unsure. Instead, he smiles, he turns back to his mission, and in doing so, he becomes the one man she cannot replace. That's what satisfies her, That's what makes her obsessed. Not because he tried to keep her, but because he never let go of himself.